It's crucial.
So you come in hot talking all big about this Paquito Moss in the Valley.
Yeah, bro. They're our new sponsor. We got
Yeah.
a brand deal with them.
I mean, I've heard a lot of things, but Paquito Moss
Very
helping a
solid. It's
lot.
on it's on Ventura. It's in Sherman Oaks. Really good.
No one knows Ventura and Shernoaks better than I. How do I not know
Oh,
Paquito
bro.
Moss?
It's across from the McDonald's. You know what I'm talking?
Yeah.
Near the
Yeah.
SULA. Yeah, it's right there in the pocket.
All right. Perhaps I've overlooked certain
But you were in
things.
Miami. What were you up to?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was just like a nice vacation for me. My dad was doing a pickleball tournament hilariously. I went down there, stayed at a family friend's house.
Who's
We
better
had
at pickleball at this point?
everyone's been asking that
Have
lately.
they?
I like that question.
Yeah.
It's not even a question. He's like a fucking like juggernaut, dude.
Yeah.
He is a juggernaut. He's senior open pro and his game is so clean. And people are like, he's 66 years old. People are like dumbfounded.
Right.
He's so much younger than people. And
His prime for pickleball would be what, like 40s, 30s?
80, 87.
Okay.
That's a joke. That's a joke. Uh
I mean,
no,
definitely more than tennis, right? Like you can be older and play pickleball.
probably less moving, but I mean, no, it's no different
No,
than
it's
anything.
more moving, isn't it? Because it's closer proximity.
Maybe more like little movements, but as far as like outright running, way more in tennis.
Yeah.
Um, but uh pickleball, no, yeah, obviously whenever you can move better is better. But that's probably the one thing my dad lacks a bit is like that bounce to his step. Like it's still pretty good, but it's just funny. Like,
So that's the edge you got.
I mean,
A little more pep to your step.
well, here's the thing, right? It's like then you got to be smart enough to use the pep,
Yeah.
and like not only smart enough, but like be able to really instill that and get it so that it's habitual and stuff. Like, do these top kid pros at pickleball? I saw them in the tournament. Like, some of them they're just so fluid out there. Like it's just clockwork. Like it's
Yeah.
just wizardry. Um,
Bro, you were so smart to and your dad like letting you know too to just catch that wave of pickleball just as it was cresting. Like I saw this video of Richard Branson
yeah,
playing in a
yeah.
competition. It's like, fuck, man, it's all over.
It's all over. It's my dad saying it's like nothing he's ever seen before. Like there was the tennis boom in the 70s. He's saying this is way crazier than that.
Yeah.
Um, and I gave a lesson at the Santa Monica Pickleball Center to someone who was going to that island, to Richard Brandt. It was like a retreat, pickleball retreat. On that trip, it was like an exclusive thing, was the creator of Entourage for one, Doug, who we know, uh, Drew Brees, who's sick at pickleball now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you had a bunch of other like pickleball pros and stuff. We know the Bellamy family, they were all there. Anyway, so this whole pickleball thing is so funny. I think it's really a good angle for my creative connections and stuff that I'm
Yeah,
teaching
man.
at
It's a
this
great
place.
angle. It's that backdoor approach.
It's the back door in. And so this tournament in Miami was fun. I stayed at a family friend's place that they just have such a nice place. And so I was really trying to just vacation it up, like hit the gym hard, jacuzzi, cold plunge,
Cold
surf.
plunge. No shit. Where's the cold plunge at? Or you were just going in
They
the ocean?
no, no. Well, the ocean there is no cold plunge. It's 80 degrees.
For real?
Yeah,
Already?
yeah, yeah. Maybe it's cooler than 80 degrees, but like it felt like a bathtub to
But
me
it's
with the
not a cold
humidity. Yeah,
plunge. Yeah.
definitely no cold plunge. I mean, it's tropical as hell, but and they're building that. This is the guy that sold Primal Kitchen condiments and everything.
Okay.
And so they recently just got super, super, super wealthy. And they live in this building on South Beach that like it's just, the entry point's pretty damn high.
Yeah.
And it's like rich back east people, like a lot of Wall Street, New York type people and
Yeah.
stuff. And their place, yeah, they have this community gym. they got all the amenities, everything, and like so I was soaking it up doing that. My dad was staying somewhere else though. And
How
he was
long
all
could you last in the plunge?
so I don't pride myself on being able to go long. Everyone I know that hasn't is like, oh, I go like
Yeah,
8 minutes,
10 minutes, 20
10
minutes,
minutes. Like I'm
whatever.
like, dude, I like to do many different shifts back and forth between the jacuzzi, cold plunge. I go for a minute in the cold plunge, and then I go back in the
That
jacuzzi.
shit's good for you too. That hot and cold exposure stuff.
It feels good to me, right? And like it's become so trendy, but the
Yeah.
Van Pattens were doing that cold to hot for 80 years now.
The Van Pattens have.
I mean, I know how funny that sounds, but like genuinely, my great grandfather, they would call him the Duke. He in New York City, they would say, "Oh, family, we're going to go to the ocean now." And no one, they would look at you like you were crazy for jumping in the ocean. But he
Yeah.
said it's good for you. The cold circulates the body, it shocks the body.
No shit.
Yeah,
You guys were
genuine.
like 60 years ahead of the Iceman, all that kind
Oh
of stuff.
yeah, all the Wim Hof.
Wim
Uh,
Hof.
don't get me wrong, I bet people were doing it, but like my dad points out, not to like take credit for it, but he's like, dude, let it be known. People were looking at us like we were crazy. They did something, my family's done the penguin swim on New Year's Day every year. That one you're hungover, the next morning you go and you jump in the ice cold ocean.
That'll shock you back to life.
That'll bring you back. That's the idea. Um,
Wow, man. Bro, there are so many benefits to that stuff. Like as soon as I start getting some money, I'm gonna get a Morosco Forge because that shit creates its own ice. It goes like I think it's
yeah.
like 32 degrees or something. 30
Yeah.
degrees.
I think the sweet spot for a lot of them is like 40, 48, probably, right? Yeah.
Then you're not
Uh,
getting hypothermia and all that kind of shit.
well, dude, like if you have that wheelbarrow sauna and then a cold plunge next to it and like ideally a jacuzzi, that's like after exercising, that'll make you feel like a
That's the
million
setup.
dollars.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine doing that shit every day?
Dude, a lot of people do. And I try to. I have a buddy in the Palisades that has a jacuzzi and cold plunge. And it's actually there. The people that I stayed at in Miami, it's their kid.
Yeah.
And they told my mom, it's my mom's best friend. They just told her I can use it as much as I like. And I don't know if they realize I literally use it probably 3 times a week now, at least. And I just
Why
show up.
not?
I text the kid like right before. He's so nice about it. And like
Yeah,
it's big,
that's
big thing.
sick. Cool, man. I'm glad you had a vacation. That's cool.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I don't know if you saw my Instagram story. Just a testament. This is kind of relevant, I guess. A testament to like scoreboard in life. I played pickleball on the last day of this trip in Palm Beach with one of the most iconic tennis players of all time, Yvonne Lendl, and
Okay.
who's obsessed with pickleball now and reconnecting with my dad over pickleball. And he goes, our fourth player is going to be J.W. Johnson, who literally is the number two pickleball player in the world, debatably like one, two. And even though that's like funny because pickleball, like it's so new, but like there's two guys basically in the sport that are like icons.
Yeah.
And they like, the pickleball stick fans bow down to them. One of them is Ben Johns.
Okay.
I kept going when I started pickleball. I was like, who the hell is this Ben Johns? The sport's only been around for like 3 years professionally. Like, why are people bowing down to this guy like he's the Messiah? Like he like
Yeah.
parted the Red Sea. And then the other guy is this guy, J.W. Johnson, who like his style is so sick and everything. And when they said that he was gonna be our fourth player, I ended up playing with him. Like I was on his team or
The
cracking
number two
jokes.
guy.
Yeah, the number two guy on the court with him,
Holy
like
shit.
slugging it out. And it was like it was just really wild in general. But B, it was like, dude, I started this thing like probably a year ago, kind of
Yeah.
like committing to it, seeing like how far I can go just as a skill. And it's such a cool testament to like life. Like it's like, what? Now I'm playing with this guy who like my cousin and I like he was the first pro that we knew about basically, that we would study tape of.
Bro, that's a mind fuck. That's crazy.
It's a mind fuck. It was a bit of like when we were talking with him, like talking about being starstruck. I had someone Instagram message me saying like, I can't believe you played with him. I'd be too starstruck. And I'm like, we were, but like I know enough now that it's like no one gets a pass. Like everyone is just another person. But
Yeah.
uh, it was so cool. It was such a great thing, man. I'm such a big fan of this guy. Turns out he's 21 years old. He's like fucking hell. He looks like he's way older and he's already been around for a while, so it's like
Was he a tennis player before?
yeah, yeah.
That makes sense.
He
Yeah.
got to a point probably when he was like 17 where he was having tennis tournaments one weekend, pickleball tournaments the next.
Right.
And ultimately he went in the pickleball direction and it seems like a good idea because he's got sponsorships with like Franklin, who's a big tennis company, and he's like the face of them now for pickleball. And he's just the pickleball audience is think about it now. All these people that have professional teams, Tom Brady, you got Jamie Foxx, all these celebrities,
Right.
Drew Brees, Mark Cuban,
Yeah.
and they freaking watch the pros. Like for pickleball people, like we love watching pros most, I'd say. To people that don't know the sport, I'm sure it's boring as shit. And this guy is like the big dog. So I think there's gonna be money in
Bro,
it.
there's this agent that's like a family friend, and he is like he's big in the music scene, and he uh is a huge fan of golf. And so he was talking about this guy that he like worships, and he's like this player. And it's like that type of intersection where it's like all these celebrities or whatever, people who have a hold in the industry, they've got this intersecting interest. And if you can ride that wave, it's like you then meet them, like you're saying, as equals. That's the move. That's the backdoor approach.
With the backdoor approach, and it's a
Yeah.
good. I talked to Tanner. He started shooting his new
Oh,
TV show. It
how's
was
that
just super
going?
exciting. Well, he hasn't told me how the shooting's going, but he's there for like 2 weeks this time, filming for 2 episodes. And
Yeah.
I think in both those episodes he has like 2 scenes.
Mhm.
And then there's a gap, and he comes home, and then he's gonna film the last like 4 episodes, which he has like some big stuff in.
Yeah.
It's funny. We're just catching up about because he surfed out there, and I'm probably gonna visit to surf and stuff when he goes back. And he just had a headline come out for he's doing the Real Bros of Simi Valley, and uh and he's like in the I guess it's a movie, and he's part of the leading cast.
Good shit.
Yeah, he's got some heat.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff, bro. How about
That's
you?
all.
I mean,
What's up?
you're back to business, man. Vacation's over. You got
Yeah,
we're back.
done
So
in,
what's coming up for you? That
yeah.
Lifeline film, when's that coming out?
It's a good question. So actually, I gotta tell them I'm back in town that I could do ADR. They asked me when I could do ADR for that.
It's like
It's
a never-ending story. It's
right. Yeah, I was gonna tag in for some production thing. But we got that. He said initially like in April. I don't. It'd be fun when it comes out, but for that type of thing, it's more like, hey, I had a big part
Mhm.
working on it. Is a big deal and stuff. But it'll be fun when it comes out. But what am I doing, dude? I'm trying to really figure out what I need to do to level up. And so I'm gonna be doing a bit of that soul searching this week. A lot of just like sitting down, spending time, like
Reflecting,
reflecting, sitting with myself.
journaling. Yeah.
Yeah, just like trying to figure out the best way to utilize what I got.
Okay.
And yeah, I ran into this kid the other day. I don't think I told you who from stand-up comedy. He had done stand-up comedy the place I did a few times. Oh, I did tell you. And he said he wants to have us on his podcast. He's starting a podcast. He blew up on TikTok
Cool.
and he's really big. And he's like, yeah, if we could get you guys like in person or online, whatever. I'm like, okay. I said, I'm also happy to do the first one, just me or whatever, if that's easier, if you have to do that too. Uh, and we want to have you on our podcast as well.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, let's do it all.
Some of that cross promotion action.
Yeah. But like I'm not sure if he listened to the podcast, but he's a fan of yours as well. He said like let's do it. Um
Name.
his name is Richie.
Okay. I
I'll tell
don't
you right
know.
now. Yeah,
I don't know
dude.
any Richies.
I don't know. You don't know him personally. Oh, you're like say maybe from TikTok or something.
Yeah, yeah.
He
Because I just know a few.
does a couple characters on TikTok that blew up, man. Rich Rosales. And
Cool.
like even you know, he's like huge on TikTok and on Instagram even. He's got like 181,000, you know.
Sick, man. It's good shit.
So funny. Yeah. He's doing the deed and we caught up and he was just like fired up on Valley mentality
Mm-hmm.
and in the acting stuff. Like for someone like him, I think, who like super into comedy, probably a very qualified actor, does these characters. He like looks at it, he's like, dude, you're doing Lifetime movies, you're auditioning for stuff,
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
shoes on the other foot. He thinks that's kind of like cool. The grass is greener because he's like a slave to doing this like these
Yeah.
bits all the time. So he's
Yeah.
got that audience. It's built in, like you know the feeling,
Yep. Yep.
and you feel like you gotta make the most out of that spark. And
Mhm.
he got a big manager out of it and stuff, all this stuff, and so now he's kind of probably looking at it like I don't know. They look at
That's
some of the stuff
sick,
we.
bro. But that is a that like crossover is a space I'm just really familiar with, where it's like there are these influencers that like they've got the numbers, they've got the followers, they've got the views, but just making that crossover to actor is like it's kind of a difficult move, which it on paper it doesn't make sense because you'd be like, oh, well, you have this many followers, like now we can put you in this thing. But I think what people started to realize is like numbers on Instagram or whatever, it doesn't always translate to people watching like a show or a movie or whatever. It's just kind of a different space.
Yeah, like I look at acting as like, or the influencer thing is like, hey, if you if you have that many followers, you're gonna have a better shot at getting the job. Like I look at it as like, oh, the acting part, that's whatever. Like that's a given that you got to be talented or good. And I don't think it's like necessarily the hardest thing in the world. So I'm just like, if you're an influencer and you've already made it
Yeah, that's
happen,
not the case at all though, because
it's not. Yeah,
you're in a much better position as far like not also not to knock him at all. Like he's doing the right things and he's also way ahead of the game of a lot of people who like want to be actors or whatever.
yeah,
You can make that transition, but yeah, I mean his mindset, I understand where it's like you've
right.
done these Lifetime films, you're like you're seen as an actor. You're not seen as an influencer. It's like a different thing.
For better, for worse, and yeah, more to that too. It's interesting. We've talked about it a bit, but um of like it's a hard thing to pay your dues in whatever line of work you're in that sense. Like people look at actors as well as not real stand-ups. Like Jeremy Piven, I heard them talking to him about because he's doing stand-up comedy now, and they're like, well, you'll never have that experience of coming up in comedy clubs and not being a known name and having to get the response for the crowd and stuff. And in the same sense, on the other side of it, they look at maybe the like comedy people or a writer or this or that as
Yeah.
like, hey, you haven't done the acting steps of like, you know, done all which I take for granted, but you know, or something. I don't know. So
Yeah.
that like a fun compliment to get. And I was just in when I was in Florida, I met up with my buddy from college who he's been in finance for 8 years, and I was telling him that like I was interested in finance and like all this stuff, and he's like, "It's funny, dude. Like I'm thinking about going into like the creative world and like not finance and everything." And he's like,
What,
I
like
think like
as agency stuff, or what is he thinking? Acting?
no, he you know he wants to do business like be an entrepreneur.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
and which I'm like great, but compared to he just thinks he's more creative than like sitting at a desk and stuff, and he has something that can offer the world and everything, and I'm like great, but it does make me feel a lot better that I already have done the legwork to create a company and
Yeah,
stuff,
bro. That's huge. That's
right?
huge. Yeah. Um, I
And
so
by the way, the podcast, like people make a big deal that we've had a podcast for 2 years.
that's the crazy thing, bro. And I wanted to bring this up to you too. I think we're on episode like 91 or something. You realize how much time that is and that level of commitment? It's like, yes, the views aren't there right now, but as soon as shit starts to pop, people are going to go in the backlogs. And it's like we have this wealth of content now that's crazy.
When we have some things go our way, it'll start to look pretty good. All the seeds that have been planted, like people will be like, "Whoa, look, they were doing everything right," and then
Yeah,
all they needed was a little bit of that water to
huge.
bloom.
Because I've never seen something like this before. Have you? like literally documenting week to week the process and sticking with it like that. I've never seen this before.
Really.
So I'm proud of us, bro. The fact that we kept up this level of consistency is crazy. But going back to you mentioned like finances and this guy's in that world and everything. I wanted to share I've made a very significant shift as far as before it's been kind of like me, like screenwriting and like doing the process and all this shit. The missing element was the producing side of it. And I've kind of dipped my toe into that where I'm like, yeah, like this is how projects come together or whatever. But like now I'm actively making moves. Like this week has been a very significant switch up for me where it's like now before I was like, why did I have student loans? Like, why did I even go to that school? Bro, the best, like for indie film productions, if we're going back to that like dentist doctor angle of like putting something together, getting 10K from here, 10K from here, but going through my school, Syracuse alums, it's like that. It's, again, talking about intersections and going in the back door, that has been working. And so for me, it's all
You
been
went through,
about,
that's the first I've heard of that. You went through Syracuse connections?
yeah, bro. I had, and it was kind of a light bulb moment. Like, why the fuck haven't I even thought of this before? But there's a database, which I'm sure is true of every school, UCLA, USC, whatever,
Yeah.
that literally for Syracuse, I just type in like dentists or doctors or whatever, and it gives me the entire list, all the emails of the people. And I know after talking to people who have raised, the 300K features and they've done their first indie projects that have actually made it to the finish. I know
Mhm.
the form emails to send. I know how to create the budgets. I know what the pitch decks are supposed to look like. So I know every facet of this process. So shit is going to start to move because I now have this project that apart from this first one that's like I think I mentioned it before, but it would probably cost like $1 million to make just because of all the kids involved, all of like the different locations and all this shit. But I have this project that's like probably around like 2 to 300K, which is completely reasonable to raise for a first indie thing. And that is my next move. That is the next thing that's going to put me, it basically puts me in the other category of like, yeah, I've done these shorts, I've gotten some views or whatever, but this is going to prove that I can actually take a feature, I can raise it, and I can take it all the way to the finish and hopefully sell it at a market for a profit. And if I do that with one film, then it's like, it's no longer just the boys club. It's like now, it's the real deal.
Yeah. But I keep going back to, bro, not that you're not doing this, but it's the club is overrated. The lifestyle is overrated. Checking the box is overrated. You gotta go for the lottery ticket. It's gotta be the gold. It's gotta catch Hollywood by its coattails, or else it doesn't matter. The clubs
100%. But
hasn't
I'm
really
not
come
but
along.
but
It's
the
never worked.
but the concept isn't compromised whatsoever. This is a concept that's like
Right. No,
but
no, no. Fair, fair, fair.
yeah, yeah, but that's the thing though, where it's like if you actually want to make this a reality and you want to make feature films, like you got two options. Which I've been down this path, taking meetings, meeting with big producers, whatever. But it's like I'm hearing the same thing across the board, where it's like if I haven't proven myself as a feature filmmaker, it's catch 22, which is a frustrating thing. But like people aren't going to
No,
take it
fair. But you
seriously.
made a movie. You did make a movie.
I mean, it died in post and I have no control over it. It's like this is a
How
different
did it die in post? How did it not get seen?
because the budget was less than $10,000 and I didn't have a hand in the financing of that at all, which means it's not my film. So whatever
Regard
happened in,
regardless,
huh?
if if production was wrapped and
Yeah,
it went into post, all that it needed was editing, you can freaking edit that.
I could have, and I tried multiple times.
What
It
happened?
it ended up being a control thing, which is the most unfortunate thing ever because it's like, yeah, you could let me like take a stab at editing, or you could just not have a finished film, and they chose the latter, which is really unfortunate. So that's where we're at with that. But it taught me a lot of things. It taught me that I want to be a producer and I want to be in charge of the finances. So that will never happen. So that if I get people, here's the most unfortunate thing about that experience. is all the people that were brought into that process. And I helped bring people from my camp into that process.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people who, like students and people who are volunteering their time for work, like grip work and like all the non-sexy positions.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing to show for that, which to me is the most unfortunate thing. So I don't ever want to let that happen again. And the only way that I can not allow it to happen is for me to be in charge of the finances and to actually
Totally.
produce the thing, you know?
Yeah. Agreed.
It's also impossible to make a film for less than 10K. It just is. Like legally. Like everything with those agreements too is like it wouldn't really hold up in court ultimately just because of like all the bases weren't covered. You need a certain threshold of budget in order to have your bases covered.
What movie are we talking about here?
The one that we worked on together.
Oh, gotcha. For
Yeah.
the 10,000.
That's the only feature that I've like
Yeah,
finished.
but that wasn't like union and stuff though, so it's like you can still do it for cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Well, that's great. So where are you at now with this new movie?
So I'm almost done the script, but in tandem with the script, I'm getting my list together of the people and that I'm gonna be reaching out to. Like it's all a numbers game. And I've got my budget in place, I've got my pitch deck. So I'm getting all the pieces together like simultaneously. And the thing is, my day job is like it gives me 2 months in the summer. The ideal situation is if I could get this kicked off for the summer, which would be crazy fast for pre-production, but that might light a fire under people that could help get me there quicker, potentially.
Yeah,
We'll
I love
see.
it.
Yeah,
Like I would say, like try to figure it out. Like how it's gonna take 6 months. Figure out how you can do it in 1 month.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then yeah. How's the day job going?
It's good. You know, I get this week off, which is nice. The schedule's better than like anything that I've had before. Like
Wow,
everything else, it's like if I want to make a film, I'm not really able to. Like I would have to do it on weekends or take a couple weeks vacation or something. So this at least gives me like that couple months in the summer where it's like we can really hit the ground.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, I still think we should have made the Yoni movie. The more that I'm hearing
It's
about all
not
this,
completely dead in the water, bro. It never is. Never say never.
that would have been a good vehicle for you to direct and have that under your belt.
I agree, bro. I
The
agree. I agree.
more I hear about how tough these things are to like just get seen, it's like who doesn't want their thing seen? Just put it out there. It's so silly.
I know.
That's why I have more respect for some of these influencers and stuff because at least they're putting their shit out there. I
They're
hate
doing stuff.
bureaucracy.
That's it, bro. They're doing stuff. The less red tape, the better. Just make your thing and put it out there.
Yeah, the whole industry needs to be like redefined. Hey, I think I told you I was watching that TV show Slow Horses.
Yeah,
Dude, I finished the second season. Super entertaining.
real good, huh?
I mean, there's some cheesy stuff about it, I think, but like yeah, it's very
Have you hit up the casting director and the producer and everyone on IMDb? Because that's the next step.
you know, just because you said that, I feel like it might actually be valid for me.
Why not, bro? It's one email.
It's all British. They're all British.
I mean, Brits, you'd have a place to stay.
Good point.
What's his
Dude, I
face? Who do we have on the pod? We had that one guy.
Dimitri
Yeah,
and Eddie,
yeah.
my my writing partner. Uh, wait, no, dude, I'm more popular in England than here. Hit up the production team of Slow Horses.
I expect a 10% commission if you book that.
Dude, I'll fucking give you the give you my house if I book it. If I book Slow Horses, that'd be so sick. It's with Gary Oldman. It's like the sickest show.
Bro, the crazy thing is, like, especially playing with the number two pickleball guy or whatever, like Reality is interesting. It's like you have the right intentionality in the right moment. You can poke a hole through, you know what I mean? Just by you like sending an email, you have no idea what the fuck is going to happen. And that's the part of life that's kind of exciting. Like, I feel like a lot of people have these blinders on where they're like, yeah, this is my circumstance. But it's like, nah, just like take that hood off and start looking around. And you're like, oh, yeah, like I can jump through that hoop and meet that person. Like,
100%.
yeah.
On Instagram, I hit up people all the time and stuff like blows my mind. It's
And
just
you've been
fun,
surprised, bro. I've heard of a couple people who've gone back, and it's like it's
right?
surprising. You never know.
You never know. That's the coolest thing than ever. Like it's easier now probably to get to people than it's ever been,
True,
right?
true.
Um,
And all information is accessible too, because that's one of the biggest things, at least from a filmmaker's perspective. It's like everything that had to do with distribution and marketing and like all that kind of shit, investing and financing, all that stuff. You can find all that information online. Like you can put a project together, and it's like the limitations that you had before just don't exist anymore.
100%. Have you ever used the Screen Actors Guild screenplay library? Like have you ever gone there and looked at old screenplays?
No. Have you?
I've not, but it's something I've always wanted to do because there's like screenplays like that I really want to see. And for some reason, people have always been private about the old screenplays. And like I mean, I'm getting more creative about just looking them up online now. They like I looked at the screenplay to Gladiator, and that actually is online.
Yeah.
Like seeing how that
Yes.
stuff was on the page, some of that stuff is like fascinating.
Because you can tell some of those monologues are just like they're gonna hit. It doesn't even matter what actor. You're like, fuck.
Exactly. I'm trying to figure out how they went from script to screen.
Hmm. Yeah, it's especially helpful if you want to write. Like you got to see how the thing is written. And
Yeah.
that is one of the problems. And it's kind of
And act how they acted from the script to what you see on screen, how what their choices were, the actor and everything. It's always funny when you see it's completely different than what was on the page.
totally. Yeah.
That can be directing too. What were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
No, no, no. That is a weird thing though, how scripts aren't like super accessible online because they aren't. Like you can find a few, but it's kind of weird how hidden they are. But yeah, I've thought about going to that library too. That's a weird process too because you can't even check them out. You have to go there, like
Oh,
sit
yeah.
down. You also have to reserve the script in advance, and their hours are like Tuesday to Thursday from like 4 p.m. It's like the most limited, inaccessible thing. But if you want it, you can read them.
I suppose they're there. We should go one of these days.
We should. Yeah. Hey,
Uh,
I'm free all summer. Let's find a day.
it's true. Summer's coming up. Yeah, let's do it this
I
summer.
will
Maybe
be shooting my feature though, so I'm putting that in the universe. That's gonna happen.
let's see it, man. You better. Have
Yeah.
you caught up with Sophia at all lately or anything? I haven't.
Not not recently. You haven't?
No.
Are you gonna press her on that Yoni script?
Someone's got to. Someone's got to.
Someone's got to do the dirty work. Bro, I'm
Wash.
white gloves.
What?
I'm white gloves. That's on you.
You're too upper crust to get down and dirty.
Yeah.
Oppress the people. Yeah. Dude, in Miami, I was with my dad, and we literally were pulling up the Scarface scenes that took place in front of the hotel he stayed at. He stayed at a hotel that was like one of the original Art Deco ones that was featured in the movie when there was like the Colombian like chainsaw scene and everything at the beginning. All that stuff. That was like where my dad was staying. Nowadays, it's kind of like touristy, corny
Mhm.
and stuff. But like we were doing the impressions of Scarface like in front of it, and we filmed it. It was so funny.
You know what's crazy? I've never seen that movie. What, disappointment? Just a coked out. Was that the movie? No, he wasn't actually coked out in that, right? He was coked out in the one with what's his face? Him opposite what was the actor? Was it De Niro or something?
And
Heat.
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 Yeah,
He's actually coked out on that film, right?
I'm sure. I mean, they're actors. They probably all were. Yeah, probably
But
all.
Scarface is worth it, worth a watch.
I'm not only speechless. I'm just like out of emotion.
Disappointed, I told you.
Yeah, no, it goes further. It goes further. Also, like, also jealousy to see that movie for the first time.
Really?
Yeah,
That's one of those movies that it's like, yeah, I know it's a classic. I just haven't gotten around to it, you know?
I get it. I get it.
I also haven't seen
Whoa,
this.
whoa, whoa. Let's stay on Scarface for a second.
Sure.
Or yeah,
No, no,
we can
no,
talk.
please.
Well, all right. So the reason I brought it up is because a lot of it takes place in Miami. It's a gangster movie. Brian De Palma was the director,
Right.
and originally they wanted to make a movie. It was a remake of Scarface with the actor like Little Caesar or whatever his name was back in the 1920s. But anyway, they ended up making the backdrop the Cuban refugee crisis of Castro back in the 70s, 60s. Let all these refugees leave the communist rule and go to America, and they all fled to Miami. It was about how they made it in America. And one of them, this guy, Tony Montana, says, I'm going to live the American dream, even if I have to steal and do illegal things for it. And he gets into the cocaine trade. That's
Mm.
right, which was really big in Miami in the 80s. And I mean, everything from like the feeling the movie has, because for instance, the beginning of the movie is like real clips of like the Cubans and Castro and stuff, like actually going on the banana boats over and everything. And the music playing during it is so good. It was also scored by Giorgio Moroder, who I don't, he's known for that like Euro trash disco craze that he also did with Blade Runner, the ominous like electronic music.
Yeah.
And it's so good in Scarface. The music, the 80s, it evokes just such specific culture.
The Blade
And
Runner score was great.
it's one of the best. It's
Yeah.
famously one of the best. And he's done a lot of Midnight Express. He also did Giorgio Moroder. But he's right there with Hans Zimmer. They're like two of the biggest probably. And then Scarface though, like there's so many quotable scenes. Maybe the most quotable movie I can think of for myself. So many like improvised stuff where like Al Pacino has this. Yeah, he wouldn't even be able to do that part today because he's like, I think he's like, he's Italian, but he played a Cuban guy.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's like thick accent, man. I'm Tony Montana I'm a political refugee from Cuba, man. And the guy that played his best friend, I forget the actor's name, but iconic as well. And the guy, F. Murray Abraham plays one of the small time gangsters in it who like brings him in and he's so funny and good. It's just the moments are so charged. Michelle Pfeiffer is iconic in the love story that ended up getting a little boring to me. But anyway, I'm going on and on. But like
No,
Scarface, man, it's just one of those rich, polarizing stories. I might have to watch it.
you really set the stage. That's
I
my
really
homework this week. Scarface.
Dude, the scene where he meets the kingpin of like the drug company and the guy's so fun. His name's Frank. He meets him and
We got 10 seconds.
oh fuck me. Anyway,
Part two to be continued.
yes, brother. I'm
Great
sorry.
seeing
Watch
you, bro.
Scarface. You too, brother.
Scarface.
Have a
Bye.